inspired. Transform your life. Welcome to Best Interest Radio.
Some of you may know how I lost over 100 pounds and cured a number of physical and mental health conditions. Now, a big part of that was healing my digestive system. After trying many different probiotics and enzymes, the ones I have found to be most effective was by far a company called Biooptimizers. Little do some people know, and I definitely didn't know at one point, is how much our digestive system affects our mood and our brain function and all systems in our body. So if you want to optimize your life in many different ways, start with your digestion, because it truly does reflect in every other aspect. And just a fun fact, the owner is from my hometown, and I can tell you that they have helped me tremendously. So if you'd like to get a discount on Biooptimizers, check out the links in the description. They just released their new blend of probiotic called Cognibiotics, which is specifically designed to help boost your mood and cognitive function. So if you'd like to learn more about that, click on the links and check it out. All right, so today on the show we have Laura McPhee. Now, Laura is a coach, she is a speaker, she helps with a lot of different things, it seems, and from what I've observed, she's been through multiple transformations in her own life, and one of the biggest things that stuck out to me was how she was in a career for quite some time, and she ended up making a switch into doing what she does now, which is coaching a number of aspects and helping people with multiple different things. So Laura, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah, it's super awesome. So why don't we just start from the top and just let's hear about how you got into coaching from the first place. Let's start from where you were working in corporate, from what I remember, and
yes.
How did you even get into that in the first place? And then what got you out of it?
Oh, we're gonna do my whole life story? Okay, so
yeah, just the main points, you know.
Mm-hmm. So when I was 7, I started working my parents' in-home accounting business.
Yeah.
And it started off with light paperwork, sorting stuff, and then it's like, oh, I can do data entry, and got into that. So I got into the corporate accounting world because I'd seen it growing up, and that was what was super secure. You could get high-paying jobs during that. We live in New Brunswick, so a JDI high-paying job was totally what was the epitome of success that I was aiming for. So I went to university, got right into the corporate world, and it was everything that I wanted. I literally checked everything off my list, and then I was burning out and was not happy at all. So
that sounds like a typical story of getting a job that that's everything you wanted, and then starting to burn out. Mm-hmm. What caused you to burn out?
Well, at the time I got promoted, I was doing a different type of work, but they didn't fully backfill my job. So I was doing upwards of 80 hours a week for a while.
Okay, yeah, that can certainly add to the burnout. I mean, I'm a massage therapist, and I only work about 30 hours a week at the absolute most. So that's quite a bit for me.
Yeah, I bet. And you're doing body work, so that'd be a lot.
Exactly. Yeah, that'd be way too much. So yeah, you started to burn out. And so what propelled you to taking the next step? What was
I was discovering that I was super similar to everyone else who was on my team, and they were in their 50s and still doing the same thing and still getting more letters after their name and still climbing the corporate ladder. And I was just I don't want to do that. And I could see the negative effects it had on them. So a really beautiful friend that was in my team, who was in her 50s, invited me to go to a crystal shop with her to take this happy type course program thing. Yeah. And I was yeah, I'm burning out here. I want to let go of stress any way I can. So sign me up. I don't know what this woo-woo stuff is, but these people seem kind of happy, so I'll try it. And at the time, I was so logic, science, accounting brain that I didn't really think any of the crystal stuff would work. I'm just okay, mindset stuff. I had done different coaching and more personal development things up until that point, but I hadn't dove really much into the spiritual world, the woo-woo pieces.
Okay, so you were doing a little bit of coaching while you were in corporate still?
So I done, I was an avid reader. I knew about Tony Robbins, all those things. I started doing kind of self-improvement when I was 18.
Yeah.
So I was familiar with the self-improvement world, personal development world, but not the spiritual growth. And that was the real piece that shifted me and moving dramatically forward on my journey.
So that was essentially like your missing puzzle piece.
Yes, definitely. So from doing that, I ended up getting one-on-one theta healing and coaching and mentorship. And I was like, okay, this like woo-woo stuff works. I don't know what it is and how all this stuff is, but I wouldn't be up at 2:00 in the morning freaking out about all the deadlines anymore. I wouldn't be like responding in the way that I used to about everyday things. I'm like, I'm calmer, I'm sleeping better. I don't have the anxieties that I used to have about like the crazy world we live in. And I was getting happier. So I'm like, okay, I want to be doing this and help other people with it. And I really wanted longer term to move into helping people. Also, when I was little, I like loved teaching people. I was a Sunday school teacher. People are always like, you're going to be a teacher or you're going to be an accountant like your parents. That was kind of like the trajectory. So in my own mind, I'm like, yeah, I'll help people in my 40s and 50s. Like then I'll have the financial safety net and all these things done so that I'll be super successful in this realm. And then I can help other people when I'm older, when I'm safe, when I have that safety net. And what I discovered was that there's a lot of people who are my age and older and in their 30s and those kind of things doing coaching who don't have to wait until you're as old as Tony Robbins or the other gurus that I saw at the time, that you can do it now. So that super inspired me, and I joined the Robbins Bananas Tony Robbins training in 2015. And I was on calls with people. It was like Telesummit back then before Zoom was implemented and that kind of stuff. So literally we'd be matched on an actual phone call. And at the end of our call, you had to like fill in this application kind of format thing of like, who did you talk to? What's their age? Like all these details to be like, yeah, you did talk to another human. You didn't just like fake fill out these kind of study buddy forms of matching up with coaches to do like 30 minutes on, 30 minutes on coaching calls. And it was super interesting because when I, at the end, would be like, I'm 24, people were like, what? Because they're all in their 40s and 50s. They're like, no, really, like, how old are you? And I'm like, 24. I'm an old soul. They're like, wow, I got so much from this session. I had no idea you're that young and all those things. Because at the time, I totally had the belief system, I'm too young to do it. Like, you have to be a certain age to help people. You have to go through a certain amount of stuff to help people. So clearing that subconscious limiting block was very helpful.
Oh, absolutely.
Forward. Because then I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. So I decided to quit my corporate accounting job, and my game plan was hopefully 5, maybe tops 10-ish years. That'll be like transition period of growing my business, getting all these certifications, growing my own tool belt so that I could really help people, and then do this full time. And it was super interesting because the universe always has better plans.
Yeah.
So after I did my advanced theta healing certification, the kind of 1-year-ish transition job that I had at the time restructured. So they're like, we don't need you anymore. And I had the full capacity to go back into the corporate accounting world. And there was a spot available that I'm like, I could totally go do that. But it was literally first day of spring on Facebook. It's like International Happiness Day. And at the time, the only title I had for myself that just kept coming through, like I kept getting so strongly, was happiness coach and healer. So I'm like, really, the universe couldn't have lined that up better if they tried.
Oh, that's awesome. It sounds like it totally lined up for you.
Yes.
I just want to kind of go back a little bit and reiterate and strengthen what you were saying through your own transformation. You know, you said you started to discover the more spiritual side of life, and that's what helped you clear any sort of blockages in order to finally like take the next steps and propel your success. And it's kind of funny, like for me, when I went through my own transformation, everything sort of came together all at once. So it was the self-help and the philosophy and the empowerment and the spiritual side. And so I can definitely relate to what you're saying, because part of having any sort of spiritual belief, whatever you believe in, when you give meaning to something, that really like drives your action in order to make it happen. And also if you clear any sort of limiting beliefs that you have about yourself or the things you can achieve, all of a sudden you can start walking through which you at first thought were physical walls, but they were just invisible the entire time. And so, you know, when I lost like over 100 pounds, I always say that's a physical representation of what transformed internally. Now, what's interesting, like mine was, well, I went through more than just physical transformations, but just for conversation's sake, your transformation was in your career, and that is still sort of like a representation of what transformed internally, interestingly enough.
Yes. And it transformed other areas of my life too, and it's so amazing because it's holistic. Like what you change in one area like ripples out into everything else. You can't in isolation change one thing. It literally affects every area of your life. And a big thing with the spiritual side I found was like understanding the subconscious mind, because up until that point I was doing a lot of the like conscious level belief work, and out of our entire mind's capacity only 5% is conscious. So it's like, cool, 5% helps, but what's the other 95% that's just beneath the surface? And that's the subconscious work, which is why when I got an actual private one-on-one theta healer and was doing that work alongside the conscious pieces, everything worked together. Because it's like those affirmations. If you say an affirmation, but you don't believe it at all, if you go running around saying, I'm a multi-billionaire and don't believe it and don't feel it's real, and it's just like, that's so out of alignment and so beyond your like comfort zone and capacity and all those things. It's like, you can't say that, it's not going to work.
Exactly. Yeah. Big difference between saying it with emotion behind it rather than just saying, I'm a multi-millionaire. That kind of monotone, you know, and that's that's a big tool that I use to make shifts in my own life. You know, I visualize just being fit and being happier and being free of the health problems I had, physical and mental, and that really is what brought it to happen. So
That's awesome.
I also love for your story too, how you know, you said how you were thinking, even though this came to your awareness and you started to dive into the spiritual side and remove these blockages and you started to see some progress, you still, you know, at the back of your mind maybe thought, oh, 5 or 10 years I could go into it. But and so many people probably have this idea, whether they want to pursue not even just coaching, but any sort of hobby whatsoever, or any sort of thing that they're passionate about. And I love how you just kind of like we're essentially kind of pushed into it. You know, you just saw, not really pushed into it, you just saw the door that was right there, and you know, you decided to step through, because I think that's so important for people to truly follow what they're passionate about, and really let go of any sort of fears that is holding them back, because we're such like a diverse planet. Like, everybody is so unique that if we all followed our own passion and what we were good at and what we love to do, there's enough jobs for everybody, you know?
Yes. And the world would be a much better place if we all followed our heart's desires. Like, our heart's desires are put there for a reason.
Exactly.
We don't ever have to like worry about the how, because the how isn't up to us. It's not important. And there's so many people who focus so much on the how, and how do I get from every single step between here and there? And it's like, it actually wouldn't serve you. Like, if right now I told you the steps in the next hour for how to get from here to BC, and that was just going to be your whole trip, like driving from here to BC, that was going to be everything. That'd be a curse. Like, you're not allowed to look at a sign or roadmap or GPS or anything else, because you're going to get it all the how in the next hour. You'd be like, please don't do that. That's a curse. But people want that for their actual journey in life. And it's like, no, that doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. Like, showing up in alignment, doing one baby step at a time, and inspired action steps gets you to where you want to go. And sitting down and being like, I don't have all the steps, I don't see the entire map, I have to make these like leaps of faith, just holds people back and keeps people stuck, or worse, downward spiral, in the fact that they don't know how to do all the things. And it's like, you just have to show up in alignment, like connect with your body, like follow your intuition, deepen that connection, and literally every single step you'll be guided towards.
Exactly. I couldn't have said it better myself. That's a really good analogy too. It's really perfect. So obviously that's one thing that you help people with. What are some other things that you help people with these days, now that you're kind of following this path?
So over the years, I've kind of shifted from happiness and helping people with their own self-love and their self-care and all those things into really deep diving into their subconscious mind, into working with a lot of light workers, because what I feel guided to now is helping other light workers so that they can help more people. Because I love that when I help like a normal everyday person, it helps them and maybe some friends or family that they also share that information with and knowledge and stuff. But what I get like super duper fulfilled by is when I help a light worker, because then they help all their clients at a better level. They share that knowledge and wisdom even more. And then that ripples out even more. And I'm all about like huge positive waves of change. So what I'm focusing on now is a lot of my light worker clients is really stepping up in their like ability to shine their light and speak their truth and be more visible and create bigger impact in the world and increase their income so that they can shift the power of the world. Because what we're seeing right now is that the system isn't working. It can't be how it has been before. And there's so many like money mindset blocks and like gross junk that like light workers have around money that I totally had. I 100% get it. Like I started really low. I started like $30 an hour. And it's like, oh, thinking back to that time and my like self-worth and my money mindset and my scarcity beliefs are just like so gross. And it's like the world's not going to change unless empowered light workers step up and change it. And we have a beautiful time right now to like really like create new industries. Like leaders are born during these times in history. And we get to literally come together and show up and create a better world and use this as a beautiful rebirth instead of what it could otherwise become if people don't step up and really shine their light right now and like help other people.
Exactly. And doing it through demonstration and you know, showing people what's possible. And I love how, you know, you're helping light workers and people who help other people, because you're essentially helping them to maximize their strengths, which can help not only help more people, but help more people effectively. And that's exactly what we want to do. Right.
Definitely.
So what are some other things that you work with people? I understand you do other stuff other than just limiting beliefs, but actually before we get into that, we should stick to this for a sec, because I love to hear that you must see some such profound positive changes in the people you work with once they start to change their limiting beliefs. Do you have any general examples of what happens when people start to shift these things within themselves?
Yeah, it like changes their whole world. Like I literally did a VIP day with a client the other day, and we started off just with 3 months because she didn't think that she'd be able to like grow her business and do all these things. She's been a healer for several years now, but it's just been like this side thing for her. She has a day job and that was what was always providing for her, but she kind of like really wanted to help people. And she was kind of getting to the point of like, I feel like I'm here to do this. I don't know why I can't ever do this long term or like full time, but I don't have the actual money and the financial resources to do this. If I could just help people all day long, I would love doing that, but I don't. So I have to do this other thing that's kind of soul sucking. So when I got on the call with her to discuss what her goals were and where she's at and where she wants to be to see if we're the best fit for working together, I was like, I'm really feeling it'll take you like 6 months to get this more full-time on track. Let's do this. And she's like, oh my gosh, 6 months is like such a long time. I don't know if I can do all the things. So we like baby stepped her. We started with the 3 month. And in the like first 2 months of working together, she got like half of her 2019 income in like the first 2 months of January and February. And I'm like, you are fucking badass, because she raised her rates. She shifted to packages. She moved her business online. She started doing webinars and more like online workshops and growing her presence like that. And she literally just re-enrolled because she's like, holy fucking shit, this all changed. So when I re-enroll people, I have different types of packages. And one of the bonuses is like a VIP day. And in the entire VIP day, we like went over her numbers, and I use my like accounting background for those kind of things.
Oh, there you go.
To like feel like into
you still are using your accounting skills as a teacher.
I can still use all my skills. It's really awesome.
There you go. You know,
don't use it much, but it does get thrown in there. So we literally like walked through how she can shift into doing this full time, how she can make easily $40K a year doing this. And I'm like, oh, we're just starting at $40K. I'm like, there you 2021, you're going up 6 figures and multiple 6 figures, but like, let's start with $40K because that's your baby step right now.
There you go.
And it's like so exciting to literally witness someone who goes from like, oh my God, that's so much money, to, oh, that's not much at all. Like my person is getting so much value from one session with me. Of course it's worth this amount, instead of holding themselves back into their old ideal client, where their old ideal client might have had more money troubles, to being like, oh no, the kind of person that I want to serve now is this kind of person. So I can charge this amount of money. And I do want to create a container that has all of these perks and all of these benefits with them. So then they move away from that like dollar per hour method, which doesn't really work, to this is the container. These are the one-on-one sessions we're having. These are the awesome like perks of getting WhatsApp support or email support or other types of accountability. And like, what other paid programs can you add in that before you just had it as a one-off paid program or workshop or recording, you can also throw in. So then you're like, oh my God, I have this incredibly valuable package, and people get to choose that they get to choose at these levels to invest in. So it's like so fulfilling and super exciting to me to like watch clients like that who are like, can I even charge this amount of money, to be like, oh my gosh, that person that I'm serving is getting so much value. This is worth even more. So of course I can charge this amount of money because the value they're getting for this is incredible. And I can see that now, and they can raise their rates. And literally they like booked 3 new clients since like we started doing that. And I'm like, you are fucking amazing. Like, you're showing up, giving the person the thing that they want, instead of viewing themselves as like McDonald's. It's like, cool, if someone wants to go find a McDonald's coach, they can go find a McDonald's coach for the cheapest amount. But if they want to go to a more like 4-star restaurant and have a variety of things to choose from on the menu, they get to choose what course or what courses they want on the menu. And that's what they're doing versus, oh yeah, everyone has to have a dollar store or like a McDonald's type energy coach, which is how they were showing up before.
Yeah, that's so amazing. It must feel so good for you to see, your clients make such big shifts like that.
Yeah, I get super excited. I do dance parties with them. I'm like, we're celebratory dancing now.
Right on. And that money thing is such a big, important subject, because money is a value. It's a reflection of value. And I always talk about this a lot, but putting it we have to look at it in a way as, we have to see ourselves as valuable. And when we see ourselves as valuable, we start to offer the value that we see ourselves as. So, I went through most of my life as not seeing myself very valuable. I was, of course, being overweight and picked on as a kid and all that jazz. Like, you're not going to feel worthy. And so, of course, when I heal of those things, I start to see more value. I start to give more value, and then I start to get more value because it's an exchange, just like money is, right? So it's okay to charge money for something that's going to be a value of something, because like years ago, if somebody came to me before I had to figure all this out on my own and was like, hey man, I can help you change your life. Like, here it is. Here's the steps. Here's exactly how to do it. I can help you do this. I'd be like, this is where you're going to be if you do this plan, if you do these steps. I totally would have been like, here you go. Like, here's, I'm going to pay for this because like I deserve that value. That'd be so awesome to have. And that's just a big thing. You probably deal with a lot, like clearing money blocks and these beliefs that people have about money, seeing it as like such a bad thing when really it's just an agreed upon value.
And that's also super interesting because like I came from the belief that like sales is sleazy and it's gross, and now I've like really embodied the belief that sales is service and it's the only way to serve. Like, you need to have that energy exchange. And it's super weird because I had no problem making a bunch of money in corporate, but when it was like one-on-one with a person in front of me, I didn't want to like ask for money. I didn't want like, it just felt greedy or weird. So I had so many like disempowering, gross, limiting subconscious beliefs around money. And because I had come from the accounting world, I didn't want to do anything about that. I was just like, nope, like financial stuff, like that's completely closed as a chapter. And I did so much work on that in my own world that started to come out with like clients. So I'd have a fair amount of people like back in my first year in business when I was just doing like one-off sessions with people at the time. And we'd spend so much time clearing their scarcity around like, there's not enough time, there's not enough money, like all those things holding them back. And it just kept coming through to me, like clearing money blocks, all these different like same belief systems that I'd be clearing with people all day long. And I'm like, okay, let's do a workshop on it. I'm like, but the only way I'm going to do this is if it's like if it's basically channeled through me. I'm like, I don't want to spend time doing this. Like, I don't want to touch back into the money portion of like my accounting world. It just like was not jiving with me at all the time. But literally I just sat down. It took about half an hour to create like the course and the things, and it just like flowed. And I'm like, up until that point, nothing had flowed that easy or quickly or anything at all in creation of anything. And I'm like, okay. And then I started putting it out, and it like would sell out, and I'd get like immediately after testimonials of people being like, I don't know what this was, but I got like $600 today. And like, this is amazing. And like other people just sharing all their testimonials. And I'm like, okay, so money blocks is actually a huge thing that the world needs right now. And I need to get over my own fucking shit to keep offering this to people because it's needed. So I've kind of let that go over the years of like, oh yeah, I can bring in some of my like corporate accounting, money mindset, financial stuff into like what I do now. And it supports people holistically instead of being like, oh yeah, that's just like one point that I don't ever want to teach on.
That's so awesome. And that's such like I said, such an important subject. I've actually saw some of those testimonials, and, you know, I can personally relate to this whole subject as well. Cause I think if you're on this planet, you have had money blocks at some point, unless you were born into like an abundant family, and you don't have
even
those.
So they still have money blocks.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they it's super common. And but the more I cleared mine, and the more I've cleared all of my subconscious beliefs, like I said, it always reflects in my life somehow. Like, you know, you'll get like $600 randomly or whatever. It's like, you know, you said when you first started on this journey, you're like, I don't know what this stuff is, but it's working. And so let's just do it. And it's interesting too, because I just want to kind of reiterate, like, it doesn't really matter what your spiritual beliefs or whatever your beliefs are on life, because I know people from different backgrounds and different religions who do the same thing in their own way, and they experience like results. So it's just a matter of doing it, connecting with something that is greater than you. And when you do that, when you connect with something that's greater than you, and you visualize achieving something that is greater than you've achieved, it's really motivating, especially when you see what's possible. Because if you change what you believe, you change what becomes possible, right?
Yes, definitely.
I've seen some of your posts talk a little bit about how sexual energy can correlate with money, and I know that's something you've recently been diving into. So do you want to explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. So it's been really interesting how my personal journeys end up mirroring in my clients. And that's how I always kind of move and flow in my business. So about 5-ish years ago, I started really deep diving into my own like sexual abuse and those blocks that were within my body, because I wasn't orgasming by myself or with partners. So I was like, there's something broken. There's something wrong with me. Like, I was molested when I was younger, so something was taken from me, and I can like never blah, 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 all these old stories. So as I cleared that and healed that and was able to like reconnect with my body and like heal my relationship to sex and do all those like deep dive inner work healings, I was able to like start orgasming and multiple orgasming and have squirting orgasms and just expanding more and really connecting to that like creative energy. Like, sex is literally what creates everyone on this planet. You're not here without at least your dad orgasming. That is how, unless you're artificially inseminated and all those other things. But for the most part, creation energy is sexual energy. And there's so much shame around it because people are disconnected from it, because all over the centuries, there started to be this very patriarchal system and religious figures that started to really like take away power and to shift people's belief system from what we used to be when we were very connected to that creative energy, and really honored women for like having babies and creating life into this world and being that like bridge and this channel from one world into the other. And it was super interesting just to like do all that work myself, heal all those things and see those connections. And then work like that started coming up in my clients. So in my one-on-one sessions, we'd get to these roots that were sexually charged, or they had their own abuse in some way, or they had their own triggers, or they were blocked in these areas, and that would be affecting all the other things, because again, everything's holistic. So healing one thing in one area heals it in all the other areas. Yeah. So what I found over my journey is that like the energy of money and sex is also super connected around like receiving. So like women who are blocked and like don't want to receive help or support, and it's weak to receive, or it's weak to ask for things, or they were like blocking themselves in their own pleasure and being like, I don't want my husband to go down on me for more than like 5 minutes. It's like, cool. So you're also blocking like the universe from like showing up and supporting you too. Because if you don't think that you're worthy of that and that level of like focus and attention and energy, it's also showing up in those other areas. So I was mainly focused on quietly doing that with my women around 2.5 years ago. So last year I started doing a lot more. And then even this year, I'm becoming an erotic blueprint coach. I'm in the certification program and going to get certified end of next month. They're kind of, depending on homework and all the different things, they're shifting because we were supposed to do an in-person May event and now we're kind of changing. But it's been amazing to like, on my journey, the more I expand into that like pure creative energy, that I can like really connect with increasing my abundance, that I can receive more, that I can ask for more in my partnerships, I can ask for more from the universe, I can ask for more in my business and all the other areas. So it's been really intriguing and amazing to like experience it firsthand, and then to also help my other clients in those areas that their abundance is so connected to that as well. And as they expand sexually, they can expand in their business and their abundance in all those areas. So it's been like super fulfilling to dive in there.
Yeah, that I love that you're doing that. It's such a beautiful thing, really, because I mean, we've been on this planet where that's been such a, either a taboo subject or a lot of people have this like negative beliefs towards it or negative experiences, because it's one of those things that it can be incredibly beautiful, or for some people it can be incredibly traumatizing. So it's really nice to see somebody like you in a position to help bring some more beautiful, positive light into that aspect, and helping, and then helps people in more than just like the sexual aspect too. Like you said, it helps them in all aspects of their life holistically.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
And it's just really important. It's okay for us to experience pleasurable things and to have nice things and to be around nice people and to just experience bliss and love in every aspect of our life. Like, it's okay. And we don't need to feel shame, if like, if somebody comes and gives us a gift, just a random gift, like here's whether it's a physical package or just like a money, or somebody comes, helps you out, or whatever it may be, it's okay to have these things. And that's the sexual energy and that aspect that you're working on is totally important and necessary in order to create change in this world.
Yeah, and it can start like super, super small, like on the receiving point. Like women, for example, have a hard time receiving compliments. Like we'll downplay it and be like, oh no, like this was on sale, or like blah, 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 blah. Downplay if you're like, oh, you look beautiful today. So even shifting to saying thank you. And then if someone's offering to pay for your tea or your meal, say thank you, instead of shutting that energy down and shutting down your ability to receive, especially as women, because we are energetically the receivers in partnerships, and like the feminine energy exchange of it. And it's just super interesting, the like correlations that when you start receiving more in one area, you can receive more in the others. And you can also do that as men as well, to like receive more, to ask for more.
Yeah, I've certainly noticed it in my own life as well. Isn't it funny how we develop these beliefs and these thought patterns throughout life and in the world? Like, it's kind of crazy, really. Like, I feel like one day, humanity's going to evolve and we're going to kind of laugh at what we used to believe.
Yes. Fingers crossed it's in the very near future.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, these kind of desperate times of restriction is also an opportunity for creativity and to expand on certain things like that.
Yeah.
What are some other blockages that you experience with your clients? Like, what were the main ones you'd say would be? We talked about money, we talked about sexual blocks, and what are some other limiting beliefs that people have, would you say?
The first time you said blocks, I'm like throat chakra blocks. Like that was a huge thing on my journey. So I tend to attract a lot of clients who have that as the thing as well, where they're not fully shining their light, that they're like dulling their shine, or they're holding themselves back because they don't want to be too much or too big or to bother their friends or their family. So they're scared of like putting themselves out there, stepping out of the spiritual closet, of owning that they're going to be huge visionary world changers. When I started to like own the shit that like I am a billionaire and I'm going to give hundreds of millions of dollars to green initiatives and create investment funds for spiritual programs for youths and have that create so many ways of change, like we could literally change the world in a generation. I'm like, I started really speaking into that. So I started to really attract a lot of ideal clients who like, yeah, I'm like totally going to write a book and it's going to change people's lives. I'm going to be like a spiritual Ellen who like has all these awesome things on like a day-to-day basis to lift people up and do moving forward. And it's been incredible to like see women especially own that and own how powerful we are, and for them to like confide that in me, to like be like, I'm gonna do this thing, and like when you started sharing this, I felt like I could finally have someone I could share this with, and you're not gonna think that I'm crazy or that it's just a silly little belief that I think, oh, it's a dream, but it's like not actually gonna happen. You're not actually gonna change the world. You're not actually gonna do these things. It's just been beautiful to have that space, and then to help other women really own it and claim it and speak it into their reality and start moving towards it. And there's so many different areas, like especially in like boundaries, that women especially don't have as amazing boundaries as we could, because we're taught to help the people around us, to be nurturers, to put men first, to do all these things. So owning our boundaries and creating new standards allows us to really move forward and create the life that we want, because if you don't have the container for it, you can't really move into it.
That's awesome. So you're like helping other people water their seeds, grow their garden.
Yes,
But
definitely.
throat blockages is a big one, and it was certainly a big one for me. I mean,
yeah.
I had such a hard time with communication. That's actually a really big thing for men, especially. You know, we don't express our emotions. It's not as common. You know, we're afraid more of being kind of discriminated or shut down by other men. And I think for me, it goes back to just feeling the shame and guilt of having health problems, being overweight, and being picked on as a kid. And it started manifesting physically. Right before I started to make a change in my life. Of course, I'm a singer too. I'm a musician, and I play in a band. I've been singing since I was like about 15. And anyway, so I was around 25 at this point, and I had really started to get a lot of throat infections, laryngitis. I'd be sick all the time. Of course, that had to do with like my immune system being unhealthy. But I feel now, when I reflect back, I really see that it totally connected with my inability to properly express myself, and suppressing my true passion, suppressing my heart, suppressing my truth. And along with that too is just trusting that things will be okay, trusting that when I follow my passion, when I follow my goals and my dreams, that, you know, I'll be provided for, and I don't need to worry about money, or I don't need to wait for the certain set of you know, these imaginary scenarios that we think have to happen before we do A, B, or C. You know, it's just a matter of doing it, believing it, and you know, speaking your truth along the way, and trusting the process and enjoying the journey. So
yeah, definitely.
it's my little 2 cents on that.
And like, it's important to know, it's like, do you tend to get a lot of sore throats? I used to get sore throats anytime I went around. I was just like, oh yeah, I get sore throats a lot. It's like, also, you weren't speaking your truth, and you were like dulling your shine, and you were constricting around a lot of people in your world, putting yourself on the back burner. So it's like those things were more what was coming up. And I had like a bacteria throat infection a couple years ago, where literally, like, the doctors didn't really know what the fuck I had, because they thought it was strep throat. I like took penicillin for 2 weeks, and as soon as I like did my last round of like the penicillin for 14 days, I was worse. I had a huge fever again. I felt like I was dying. I'm exhausted. And I went back in and they're like, oh, you didn't have strep throat. Like your test result actually came back that you didn't have that. We don't know what you have. So they took a bunch of blood and they're like, I don't know what you have. You don't have mono. You don't have this. You don't have that. So I was just like, fuck, like I did so much like healing and was doing all the like spiritual things. Cause I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? Like it's spiritual first before it ever manifests in your body.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what am I not learning? What am I not understanding? Cause it was basically a month of just like horribleness. And that was still when I was in that like transition job. So I like maxed out the days that I could like be on sick. Cause I was just like, I'm exhausted. I'm drained. It was the worst experience. And it like was what I needed to do really deep dive work into speaking my truth and owning that this is what I was here to do. And a huge amount of transformation in my personal relationship as well with my partner at the time.
That's amazing. Hey, I can tell you, coincidence or not, you know, I healed of those things that I mentioned, the communication and the trusting and even also the white lies too. That's an important thing as well, you know. And I don't have any throat problems anymore.
Awesome. Yay.
Yeah. And so it's just, you know, you go through your own journey, you kind of develop these realizations and when you start to become mindful of your the cause and effect of things.
Definitely.
Yeah. So what are you working on now? Is there anything new coming up and something that you're excited about that you're working on?
Right now, I'm focusing on the light workers. I'm doing a lot more just behind the scenes on my own coaching certification for the erotic blueprint because I'm going to be certified next month. So we're coming to the end of that. So I'm super excited to start offering things using the blueprint system. So that's like a tease for future things to see for me. But right now my focus is entirely on my light worker work and really supporting other light workers and stepping up because the world needs it now more than ever. Our mental health system is not going to be able to handle the degree of like actual trauma that people are getting from going inside. Like it's actually the worst punishment in prison to self-isolate. And physical touch is so needed. They've done studies before where they had like, first they did it with monkeys where the monkey would have to choose between food or being with like the feeling of touch with their mother. And the monkeys would choose the feeling of touch because touch is so important. And then they moved it to, unfortunately, clinic studies of babies. And they had it so that the babies weren't getting eye contact. They did the bare minimum just to feed the babies. And half of the babies died during the study. The other half died within months after. Like physical touch is so needed. And the world is going to need light workers more than ever, just in what we have now and in the repercussions of what's happening. So I really feel strongly called to help more light workers show up in the world more, shine their light brighter, like just help one person. Like don't care if your video doesn't get the likes that it has or compare yourself to other people or if your backdrop doesn't look good or if you don't look pretty, like show up and share your message, show up imperfectly, show up messy and weird and keep getting better and do progress right now because the world needs everyone's light. And that's how we're going to create like a loving world from this experience instead of other possibilities.
Yeah, exactly. You just got to step into it and just do it and don't worry about it. That's what I did with what I'm doing now. I just
I love that.
Literally just started doing it. I'm like, whatever, I'm sure it'll work itself out.
Yes. And like, that's the thing. It's part of the journey. There's so much like weird mentality that making mistakes or quote failing is bad and it takes you away from success. That like failure is the opposite of success. And it's like, no, failure is on the path. Like you'll learn way more by actually doing something and critiquing it and moving forward and fixing this bug and like figuring this part out as you go than just sitting there waiting for your like mind to know how to do everything perfect one day. Like that's not how it works.
There's always going to be bumps and rocks along the road, and those are what strengthen us, you know. There's a saying, I think it's by Vince Lombardi. He says, you know, strive for perfection, but catch excellence in the process. Because essentially perfection is not even a real thing. It's just something that we hold in our minds. But, you know, you can still strive for perfection, whatever your idea of perfection is. But just, you know, be comfortable with where you are. Be comfortable with the process and catch excellence, you know. And I just want to touch base on the touch that you mentioned. I'm a massage therapist, so I'm like, hell yeah. You know, people come for massages, like 50% of the time is not even because they need a massage for physical pain or stress or whatever. It's because they need human touch. Like it's such an important thing. Like we need that. It's essential to our happiness, our health,
Mhm.
our mentally and physically. And I say physically because our mental health always reflects in our physical health.
Yes.
And yeah, we need that. I mean,
Yes.
there's a reason why we're born from our mother, and our mother immediately was the first thing she does. She holds
Yeah.
us. You know, she
Yes.
touches us. Like that's the
Mhm.
first thing that we do before we know anything is we're touched.
Yes.
And yeah, I mean that could be a whole subject on its own of people having, you know, fear of touch in the first place. But like
Mm.
just because like, you know, they don't like people being in their space for whatever reason, but it's such an essential thing. And
Definitely.
I'm gonna be I could probably do 1,000 massages a day after this is all said and done. But I think we're gonna be in a different world than we were before.
Mhm.
And those who are, you know, we're forced to go internally, and that can be really good, you know, because of course there's the minimum effective dose of everything, and touch is good.
Mhm.
There's the minimum effective dose of that, and then also just the self-isolating and reflecting and going internally and working on ourselves, whether it's through self-help or self-improvement or
Mhm.
doing some sort of internal healing work
Mhm.
with whatever tools you want to use. So those who are doing that right now are going to emerge from this and be able to help other people. But there's also going to be some people who really just they don't do that because they don't know how, and it's
Mhm.
going to be us to be able to help them. Some people are fortunately going to experience more damage out of this. If
Mhm.
but yeah, it's up to us, you know. So hopefully this whole thing inspires a lot of people to kind of do their passion. That's what I've really been
Yeah.
um, encouraging people lately is just, you know, you have all this time,
Mhm.
do the things you love, things you've been thinking about for a while, even
Mhm.
if it's not as crazy dreams as, you know, you or I might have. Even if it's just like picking up an instrument or picking up a book that you haven't picked up in a while, just go do
Mhm.
something that you love, because that's what life's all about.
Yes.
Not about
Be a human being instead of a human doing. If you can't do all the things that you used to do before, reconnect that you're a human.
exactly. That's so just before we wrap it up, what inspires you in your life? Like what drives you to live day to day? What's that big dream that you have, and what you know, for me it's just enjoying every single little experience of life. You know, I love just appreciating the little things. You know, I love going for
Mhm.
bike rides and just looking at the wind. Looking at the wind, that's kind of a funny term. Yeah.
The leaves on
Yeah.
the
Well,
wind.
I'm a musician, so I'm a little bit poetic. Yeah, I stare at the wind when I'm going for a bike ride, and it's kind of funny. You can see the wind in a way. You can see the leaves move,
Mhm.
but
You can feel the wind.
yeah, no. For me, it's like just enjoying life and whatever comes my way, and just being happy no matter what.
Mhm.
Just experiencing the blissfulness within everything, and the magic and beauty within everything, whether it's your breakfast, your morning coffee, the sun outside, or even the rain,
Mhm.
the cold and the hot, whatever it may be. So what
And the
is it for
snow that
you?
we've been getting recently, even though it's spring.
Yeah, exactly.
um, there's lots of things. First thing that came to mind was like really being the change, like being it for me, being it for my family, being it for my future family, being it for my clients, being it for the world. Because I get to really experience that. Like it's a physical feeling that I
Yeah,
get when I'm doing the things that I love for my self-care and my gratitude practices. Like I love just like diving deeper into what like lights my soul on fire and like really nourishes me for myself. I love that I get to fill my days with like my ideal soulmate clients who like are doing incredible things in the world, and I get to witness their transformations, and that totally inspires me to keep showing up and keep being a better version of me, that I totally believe I'm a masterpiece in this moment and also a work in progress at the exact same time. So I love learning. I love growing. I'm a huge seeker. And I love that like everything kind of all melds together, that I've been able to co-create a life that the things that I love to do for myself, like even sex, has like gone into my business, that there isn't really a divide between anything, that the work that I do and the work that I do in the world is like all connected and like a really deep, beautiful level.
Hey, that's a powerful one right there. Be the change you wish to see in the world. That's something
Yeah.
that I live by, and
Mm-hmm.
it's actually, yeah, what propelled me to make a lot of changes in my life. You know, it's just
Amazing.
you look around. If you see something you don't like, don't do that. Do the opposite. Be the good
Mm-hmm.
version of what you see that you don't like. You know, and
Mm-hmm.
even if you help one person, that's actually what I wanted to say earlier when you're talking about just stepping into something and just doing it. Like, because
Mm-hmm.
even if you help that one person, your job is done. You know,
Yes.
when I
Mm-hmm.
step on the stage, and even if my music speaks to one person in the
Yes.
audience, my job is done. That's
Yes.
it. That's all
Mm-hmm.
matters, because it's, of course it's for me mainly, and then
Mm-hmm.
but ultimately I really hope it helps other people, and because
Yeah.
even just one helping one person, we might be able to profoundly help them more than we actually realize. Even
Mm-hmm.
the smallest of gestures and the smallest
Yes.
of comments, smallest of actions.
Mm-hmm.
um anyway, thank you so much for talking. Where can people find you?
They can find me on Facebook. So Laura McPhee. I am on my personal profile a lot. I also have a business page there. On Instagram, I'm Coach Laura McPhee, and my website is coachlauramcphee.com, even though I haven't really updated it for a couple years, but you can find my link to like book a call with me there at least. I'm like all joyful goddess now. That still talks about some of the like happiness type of stuff, but I'm like, it doesn't bring me joy, and I'm just going to delegate that to my VA at one point. But I'm like, until then, it doesn't bring me joy, so I don't do things unless it's like in alignment and in joy.
Yeah, exactly. And I saw you have some seminars and like workshops that you post on your website and stuff that you,
Yeah. So
yeah,
all my
some little
pre-recorded stuff
packages.
is available on there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And she's definitely a wonderful person to have on your social media, full of
Mm-hmm.
positivity and
Thank
inspiration.
you.
Love your posts. Keep it up. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Hopefully this speaks to people and inspires them
Mm-hmm.
to make some changes in their own life. So,
Yeah, definitely. Thank you guys for showing up and listening.